Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the live stream. I'm Jesse Showalter. Welcome to the channel. We got lots of stuff going on today on this live stream, but tell me where you're coming from, because we got people coming from YouTube and Behance and Twitch and Facebook and all the things. So if you say hello, I'll be able to see wherever you're saying hello from. But tell me where in the world you're streaming this from this morning, this afternoon, tonight, wherever you're at. Oh, we got a hi from India. Thank you for saying hello. Haven't done a live stream for a little bit. I was like, got to get back on the ball for 2022 with my live streaming because I miss my people. I miss the people from Nigeria. I miss the people from India. I miss all the folks. I miss all the friends. Well, hey, today's topic is becoming a product designer in 2022. So here's the game plan over there, Vipin from India. We're going to be talking about the skills and things you need to learn in 2022, the characteristics and the traits and the skills and all the things that are going to go into you becoming a product designer. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're actually going to get in some design work. We're going to open up a Figma file and actually start playing around and showing some of these skills. And then we might do a little bit of portfolio review at the end. We got people coming in from Mexico and Nadia from the Netherlands and Hanan's from the United Kingdom and Jeff from Brazil. Thanks for joining. Hey, we got a lot of cool stuff. If you're not a part of the Hey Creative Discord server, there's a link in the chat. It's pinned in the chat and it's down in the description of the YouTube video. Make sure that you join that. It's a free Discord server where we get to chat and hang out. And that's where you can submit your portfolio work. I got a bunch of portfolios selected for today that we're going to be zooming in on and checking out. So you might be able to make it into this one. You might make it into the next one, but at the very least, you're going to find a really cool community of awesome creatives. So make sure that you jump into that. Big news, super big news. Before we go, too much further. Got some, of course, technical difficulties, because I always have technical difficulties. But hey, before we go too far, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you get notified when I go live streaming like this. Do you subscribe? You like all that kind of stuff? But a really gigantic moment is something that's happened in the last few weeks or month, is where Dribbble has announced finally the course that I've been working on over a year to produce in tandem with the folks over at Dribbble. It's the 12-week product design course, certified through Dribbble, job placement, mentorship, hands-on cohort, 12-week certified course. So if you're interested, there's a link to this. What you're going to see today is a little excerpt, just a pull out of this 12-week course. It's a massive amount of content, 5 hours a week, at least for 12 weeks to become a full-blown digital product designer. So consider that. That is the big thing. Yeah, push Deep Kaur says, awaiting your courses. There's one right there. It's the Dribbble 12-week certified product design course. Oh my gosh, it's finally happened. I've worked so long and hard to make it happen, but it's finally here. So that's a really, really big deal. I'm going to cough right now. Throughout the chat or throughout the stream, if you got any questions, please ask those. Let's jump over to my screen and take a look really quickly at what it looks like to become a product designer in 2022. Just a few things. Somebody said elbow cough. Yep. A few things that you might want to think about. I'm just gonna flash some of these slides. We'll talk about them a little bit. We'll dive into some Figma work. We'll come back. We'll talk some more. We'll answer questions. Let's get started. What is it? Well, first let's answer this question. What is a product designer? What's the difference between a UI designer, UX designer, product designer? Is there a difference at all? Why should I take a course about becoming a product designer? I'm already doing web design, Jesse. Is there a difference? There is a difference. We're going to go into it because really at the end of the day, UI design skills and UX design skills are part of the role of being a digital product designer. But a digital product designer has a lot more that they have to think about than just one or two specific things. It encompasses a lot more. Also, just real quick on the terminology, UI, UX, product design, all that kind of stuff. A lot of times we say I'm a UI, UX designer because when you do UI design, you have to do a little bit of user experience design. You have to be thinking about the user experience. That's much different than somebody who is solely a user experience design and does quantitative, qualitative research, UX research, testing, like rapid prototyping and user research and groups and eye tracking studies. There's a big difference there, right? Between somebody who does that full time and somebody who kind of run and guns a little bit of UX inside of their web and, mobile design projects. We all see the difference there? Okay, there's a little bit of a difference. Whereas a product designer is going to need to do a lot of that stuff all at once. So let's talk a little bit about some of the skills that you might need as a product designer, as a digital product designer. We'll chat about a couple of these. Let's start with this very first one here, which is research and empathy. What does it mean to do research and have empathy? And why did I tie those together in this slide? Why research and empathy? Well, let's talk about it. We research so that we can have empathy for our users that are using our products. Let's go into that a little bit deeper. We have to do the research so that we are able to empathize, because without doing the research, we have no empathy for the problem. What we're really talking about is their pain points, their problem, the issue that they're having. And so how can I understand that if I'm not the core demographic or user? We have to do research. We have to ask questions, send out surveys, do group studies, look at analytics, ask questions of our user group. Here's a really great example. And here's why Uber came on the scene and drastically transformed the landscape, because they asked, they tried to solve two questions for their user. Who was their user? People who are really frustrated with the taxi or cab experience. What was their problem? Their two main problems they found and they would desire to tackle at Uber was, number one, ordering a cab, flagging down a taxi, knowing that you can always get a ride when you need a ride. That was a problem. So they desired to solve that problem, right? And then the second problem was money, paying. Do you have to have cash on you? Do you take card? I forgot my wallet. And so they solved that second problem, which is, put it all together. I order an Uber. I can see that the Uber is coming. I feel confidence and joy and excitement that my car is on the way. I know what type of car, my driver's name, look at the license plate, match it up even with the light for security purposes. You're my person. You're my ride. And when I get into the car, I don't have to think about money because I've already signed up for an account. My payment information is already saved. I know as soon as I step out of the car, it's already paid for. So it solved those problems. Okay, so it solved all of those problems because they researched and they empathized with the user's pain points. Let's talk about the next one. Let's talk about process and leadership. Okay, how are process and leadership a part of being a product designer? Well, let's break it down. You do have to have a process, a product design process that makes sense. It has to be repeatable. So product design looks a little bit more like science and a little less like art, right? Because we're trying to solve these problems. And to do that, we should have a process we run through. Here's an example of a little bit of the product design process that you might experience. Look at that. First one we already saw was research and empathize. But the next one is, let's define the requirements. Now that we understand our user, we need to define some requirements of what success looks like and create some goals. Then we ideate. Then that means to generate ideas quickly. Then we prototype. We don't do high fidelity, beautiful thing. We make it real gritty. We go wireframes, gray boxes, janky text, and we test the heck out of our prototypes, which is basically still just an idea, right? It's a thought at this point. It's not a sure thing. We're going to test it. Now, here's where we get really interesting, because here's our process is as we start researching and empathizing, defining, we ideate, right? We prototype, we test. If it's not right, we might have to come back around and create new ideas, prototype and test, come back around, prototype, test. Once we have something that tests well, we can refine it and deliver it. And then we want to measure and analyze it. Then what do we do again? Come back around, create new ideas, prototype, test, refine, deliver, over and over. This is the product design process. And why I say leadership is so important here is because somebody needs to lead this process. Somebody needs to champion the user. Somebody needs to stand up for what's right and make sure the user's getting what they need and not just running and gunning, but instead saying, let's do this systematically. Let's save resources, time, money, frustration. Let's hold on to this process, and you might need to be a leader. Now, here's the thing. if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know how to empathize, I don't know how to test, I don't know how to research, I don't know how to be a leader, we talk about all of this in the 12-week Dribbble Design course. I'm not trying to pump this too hard. I'm just really proud of it because we cover everything in this course that you might need. And so I just want to look at it really quick. Okay. If you're interested, you can go over to dribbble.com/courses/product design. Just go to learn design on Dribbble, hit that certified product design course. You'll see, guess who? My ugly mug sitting right there talking to you. But the coolest thing about it is, right, that here's the things you're going to learn. You're going to learn design thinking, UI, UX, research, wireframes, flow diagrams, prototypes, Figma, career prep, and you'll have mentors throughout the entire thing. You have guest appearances by massive people in the design industry like MDS, and you're going to have people like Jessica Coe, who are hiring managers at Google, come and coach you, and you're going to have accountability. You're going to learn everything you need to learn in this course. And so you can hit enroll now if you're interested, and you can get an example of all the curriculum that will be taught over this 12-week course. It's going to be challenging, but it could be game-changing for you, okay? So, not to harp it too much, but I'm really, really proud of it. All right, so let's get back. How are you going to learn process and leadership, research, and empathy? You can learn it on your own, but you got to study hard. You can take a course, whatever. Let's talk about the next one. Visual design and UI patterns. Now, this is, some of you might be like, this is my bread and butter. I got this one down, right? I love UI design. I love visual design and UI patterns. I know how to make a button. I know what a fab is, a floating action button. I know the difference between Android design and iOS design. I've read the iOS human interface guidelines. I know what tap points are right. So this is what we're talking about, is once you solve the problem, you understand the user, you have empathy, you need to know the tools that are at your fingertips, literally, no pun intended, at your fingertips, to create something that works for the user. Now, as a digital product designer, this is creating digital products, websites, web applications, mobile applications, and maybe even interfaces. Like, for instance, I just bought a Tonal, which is like an at-home workout machine, and it's a massive screen that has built-in digital weights. But I was just looking at it. I'm like, I might have to do like a design tutorial for this Tonal, because it's not your standard phone. It's not a desktop application, but it is an interface that required somebody to solve the problem. How do we get people to increase their weights easily? How do we let people know their metrics and their stats and everything they might? How do we create this interface? Visual design, UI design patterns, things that make sense, that are tried and true. These are the things you're going to have to learn to become a digital product designer. Also, rapid prototyping and testing. We already talked about this. You can't just, I know everybody wants to, rush to the good stuff, rush to the high fidelity dribble shot, Behance shot, make it look all shiny and flashy. You got to slow down. You got to figure out how quickly can we get something to test it, okay? And how quickly can we get to something that people can click on, swipe through, and tell me this doesn't work? I didn't know how to find the button. I didn't know how to book my trip. I didn't know how to order my ride, right? Because they can test it. How little work can we do to get something testable and see if our idea is even good? And so you need to learn what it looks like to rapidly prototype something. What does it look like to test something? How do you test something? We talk all about that in the course, but that's also just a skill you should have. And so if you're taking notes right now, if you're taking screenshots, go out and learn these on your own if you want. I have videos on stuff like this on my channel. Other people do. You could learn it for free. You could buy a book. You could take a course. But these are the things in 2022. If you want to put product designer on your sign, I couldn't even think. Nobody has a sign on their desk anymore. On your LinkedIn bio, on your Instagram bio, then you're going to have to study and learn these things so that you can actually do the things you claim to do. Here's another one that you might not have expected: team skills and documentation. Team skills, documentation. What does that have to do with me designing something? Well, most likely you're going to design in a team. You're going to need to learn how to receive feedback, give feedback, input, work as a collaborative team to accomplish your goals. But then also, what does it look like to document everything? Because the medium in which we work in, right, for digital product designers, we're going to go ahead and need engineering teams and developers to bring these things to life. Do you know how to work with developers? Do you know how to document, redline, spec, right? Annotate? Do you know what a work stream is? Do you know how to pass off a prototype and not just say, you figure it out, designer, but instead work hand in hand with them? These are all important skills that you're going to need. Let's talk about another one. How about wireframing? And I put simplification as part of it right here. Wireframing and simplification. Why would you need wireframing? And what the heck do I mean by simplification? Well, wireframing are those ugly boxes we talked about, those gray boxes, those rapid prototype that you can lay out things and help users get where they want to go, but you're doing it in the least possible, the most minimal way so that you can figure out if your idea even works. Wireframing is bread and butter for product designers in 2022. But what about this whole simplification idea? What about cutting out the fat? Right? What about trimming it down to its most simplest, purest form? In the course, we actually give you multiple different projects that you have to work on. At the end of the 12 weeks, you will have accomplished at least 3 capstone projects. Here's an example of one of them is designing your own email client. So we've researched and we'll provide you with things like a user persona so you know who the user is that you're designing for. We'll teach you how to create a problem statement, right? What's the problem that you're trying to solve? The risks and rewards, ideas and validation, the project goals. You'll learn what it is to create an empathy map, and so you can start understanding and empathizing with your user. And you will have gone through and created a user flow diagram, and then maybe even build some wireframes and jump into UI design. We'll teach you all the tricks of the trade for that. But at the end of the day, you also need to learn how to simplify, streamline your idea. And so this is where it comes into play. I can't solve every problem in the world, but what simple problem can I solve? Back to that Uber example. I'm not trying to create a million things. I'm trying to do 1 or 2 things really well. I want to give confidence to my user that the ride is coming, and I want to make the payment process really easy. Everything else around that is ancillary. It's tertiary. It's a secondary, tertiary issue. The primary thing is the thing I want to solve. So often when we're designing, we're constantly going, what would help is if I added a new feature or I added a new problem to solve. This makes it valuable. We need to come down to a core issue, a core problem, solve that thing first, and then we can start building later after we validated that this core issue can be solved, right? How do we simplify? How do we streamline? It's a big one if you're going to do this in 2022. Here's another one, problem solving and design thinking. You might have heard that term, design thinking, and just thought to yourself, I'm a designer and I think constantly. I'm thinking about things all the time. But are you thinking about it in a design-centered, user-centered, systematic way that says, find the problem, empathize with the pain point, solve it in the simplest way, prototype rapidly, get there, test it, make sure it works, then launch it and come back around and analyze and measure? Are you doing it in that fashion? What's really interesting is we'll talk about this in the course, but I'll just talk about it right now. If you learn how to problem solve with design thinking, you can actually apply this design thinking to your relationships, to your friendships, to your career, to your habits and your goals. If I reach back there right now on my shelf and I grab a book called Atomic Habits, he's going to think about this like a digital product designer. He's going to say, Jesse, you have a problem working out and going to the gym because you have to drive 30 minutes to get to the gym. Screw the whole thing. Buy a tonal, put it in your home, and now there's no excuse. You've designed your environment to make that process easier for you. Oh, I'm thinking about it like a designer with design thinking now. Here's the problem. My problem is it's really far for me to get there, and it's hard for me to trump up the motivation to do something I already don't love doing, which is working out. But if I put it right in my bedroom, so when I roll over every day and open up my eyes, there's the machine, there's the motivation, there's no excuses. I have solved a problem with design thinking that I used to have. I now have the solution. And it's open to me, right? Okay, so this is design thinking. It can help you in all areas of your life. Let's talk about this last one, which is passion and creativity. Okay, so passion and creativity. These are skills that every product designer needs. You need to be passionate. Do you need to be passionate about building a dog walking application? Do you need to be passionate about new moms buying diapers easily online? No, but you do need to be passionate about solving people's problems. Can I tell you one of the best feelings in the world is knowing that you played a part in solving somebody's problem, real world problem. I mean, there's problems all over and you've probably experienced it. You've probably experienced bad software, bad interfaces, problems. You're like, oh, this is driving me crazy. I wish this was better, but you are the person that might be able to make it better, right? So having a passion for making things better, solving real problems, and then you use your creativity to do so. right? So maybe you're thinking about ways, and I'll just throw this in because in the course, we think about this specific email client issue. And our user persona is somebody who is a young, creative entrepreneur, a photographer, an artist, set designer, whatever, and they hate email because it's clunky. They wish that it was a little bit more like text message, right? A little more conversational and a little less professional, a little bit more zip a message there, get it back, but they hate normal email. How do you solve that problem? Can you create an email client for this user that feels more like text message, but still works in the background like email? Oh, what an interesting problem to solve. You might be able to be the person that solves that. Okay, so this is just a few of the things. And really quickly right now, I want to jump into a time of question and answer. All right, so if you have any questions, let's jump into them right now. I'm going to take a sip of my Legend Spicy Nootropic Ginger Drink. It's one of my faves. I drink it all the time. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not lying. I just really love it. All right, here we go. Azim Abbas says, role of product design for AR, VR, Web 3.0, blockchain, massive right now. When people say Web 3.0, what they're talking about is this new revolution of how people are using, I almost just sounded like an old man, using the internet, right? Okay, so we're not just using the internet anymore, just like this, right? All of a sudden it transitioned from this to this, to this. We're using the internet in all sorts of ways. Now the internet is used, quote unquote, right? In VR, in AR, in all of these new and interesting ways. We have the blockchain, which is a new style, a new form of technology that allows us to trade and sell and buy online. All of this needs design. All of this needs somebody to think through the problems that people are having. So for instance, I have an Oculus. I love playing my VR. It's so much fun. I just had an issue though, where the Oculus was not updated. I hadn't played it for like a couple months. And so when I picked it up, I couldn't buy the game that I wanted to buy. I couldn't do anything. It just kept freaking out. And there was no good way for me to solve that problem. And it took me forever to figure it out. There's no good way inside of the Oculus to figure it out. I had to back out of my experience and go online and do this and problem solve. And it ended up having a mechanical, I must hold the button, do this kind of reset thing for a while. But none of that was shown to me inside the Oculus. This is a problem, right? So I don't care. Like there's levels of technology that you and me cannot even fathom. And in 20, 30, 40 years, guess what will still be needed? Problem solvers who can creatively think through these things using what assets and resources are at their fingertips to solve the problems of today using the skills that we've learned from yesterday, okay? And so it doesn't matter if it's Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, or 7.0, there will always be designers that are needed, problem solvers creatively for these things, okay? Let's see, Push Peep says, is this course for absolute beginners? Absolutely. This course is, in my opinion, for pretty much everybody. If you are a person who has no experience, you're going to learn all the things you need. You're going to learn the basics of Figma, how to use a design tool, what the heck even is a product designer, how do I get a job, how do I make a portfolio, how do I use color, typography. You're going to learn all the basics. And if you're already in the industry, maybe you're a UI designer, a UX designer, a web designer, and you're going, I want to put that product design title. I want to know this process. I want to know about research. I want to know how to put the whole thing together in a comprehensive system that allows me to apply for junior product designer roles. Man, this would be a good course for you as well. It might even be an interesting course for you if you are experienced in those areas or a little bit in product design and you want to see somebody else's workflow or somebody else's style of explaining things, understanding things, and be challenged a little bit. I love that. I've been in the design game for 14 years. I still take courses. I have a YouTube channel, an Instagram channel. I'm all over social media. I love social media. Guess what course I just took? I just took a social media course, an Instagram course with Dot Long, studying her dragon method of using Instagram. So we're never too above anything to learn and grow as human beings. So absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Also, how is this course different from all the other courses offered, like on Coursera or whatever? I think one of the biggest things for me, and I would not have done this course like in partnership with Dribbble, had it not been for the fact that they allowed me to pour everything into this course and that there was mentorship also included. And so every week, not only will you get like all the video courses with me, the live sessions with me, the live sessions with MDS, Jessica Co, other industry like amazing industry people, but you'll also meet up every single week with your mentor. You will have a mentor throughout the course that will be able to answer those questions and guide you. So for me, I'm only here today because of apprenticeship, mentorship, asking questions, and having people being willing to pour into me. So if you've never had a mentor, if you've never had somebody to apprentice you and walk you through things and walk you through this core curriculum that will teach you the foundations of everything, that's to me what sets this course apart, okay? Let's see. Let's talk less about the course, I think. Let's answer some other questions. Hey, Jesse, can you tell me if Bootstrap is necessary for UI and UX designer? No, it's absolutely not. Now, it could be one of those tools. I would call it a secondary tool, right? What are primary tools? What are secondary tools, right? Okay, I would say primary tools are a design tool, basic design principles, research, testing. Those are the primary tools of a digital product designer. Secondary tools might be add-ons, bolt-ons, right? Like I like to use Bootstrap because it helps me prototype quickly. Okay, fine, you do you. I like to use Webflow. I like to use Bravo Studio to create mobile app prototypes really, really quickly. That's my style of rapid prototyping. Okay, cool. Those are specific, smaller secondary tools that we add to that core skill set that we were talking about earlier. So I think that's a great question. Okay. Jasmine says, hey, Jesse, just wondering, what major would you suggest students to take in university if you're planning to become a product designer? Here's my suggestion. What would I encourage you to study in university to become a digital product designer? I would say don't go to university to become a product designer. That's going to get me some flack. I don't think you need to go to design school. I don't think you need a degree. I think you need experience. I think you need hands-on. I also this is a personal, I'm going to stand over here. It's a personal vibe that I have. I hate debt. I hate student debt. I don't believe in you paying $80,000 to $100,000 of student debt to learn something that you most likely won't use later on. So I might say, oh, go to university, learn about psychology or learn about design. And then you become a product designer and you go, I didn't really need all that, right? Now, if you want to go have a college experience, feel free, pay whatever you want for it. But if you want to be a product designer, you don't need to go to university. Take a boot camp, take this course, get on YouTube, read a book, watch my channel or other people's channels, but learn by doing. That's what I recommend. I think that's a great question. And these were a lot of great questions. Love it so much. Thank you guys so much for all those amazing questions and answers. Okay, so I'm going to go back really quickly to a little bit of an experiment. Let's talk quickly about a standard thing that we do all the time, which is sign up or sign in. Let's talk a little bit about the nitty gritty, but maybe before that, let's talk about this. There's a couple of techniques, not all of them, but we've already talked about a lot of these. Some techniques you will need in 2022 to become a product designer. Testing, user flow diagramming, which we're going to talk about right now, prototyping, wireframing, and UI design. Okay, so with that being said, here's a little example of what we call a user flow diagram. Maybe some of you out there are like, I don't know what this is. That's cool. For those of you out there that don't know what this is a user flow diagram. This is how we track or we document how the user might get from point A to point B, whatever we dictate that point A and B to be. We want to get the user to sign up or sign in. We got to chart it out so we figure out where all the problem areas might be. We can also hand these things off like documentation to our engineering teams to say, not only do you see the UI design or the prototype, here's the flow in case you need to match these things up. And so this is just a tool, one of the main tools of a product designer, okay? So here we go. I'm in Figma right now. You get this file inside of the course as well as like a bunch of other files as well. But this is just a bit, you can create your own even, right? I think I created this one and created a file or a template out of it, but where you're always going to have an entry point inside of your user flow diagrams. What is an entry point? Well, if it's a website, you might have multiple different entry points. They clicked on a link, an ad, they got dropped into a certain funnel, a certain page. If it's a mobile application, they probably downloaded your app from the App Store, whether it's the iOS or the Android or the Google Play Store. They probably downloaded your app, and that's the quote unquote entry point. Now the user is presented with an issue. They're presented, well, not an issue really, probably your home page, your splash screen, whatever you want to call it. They're there and they have a decision, and this is what we call a decision diamond. A lot of the stylistic things about user flow diagrams they're kind of your choice. It's up to you. You do them the way you want to do them. But there are some industry standards that we talk about in the course, we'll talk about here now as well, okay? That this is what we call a decision diamond. When you see a diamond, it usually means, hey, the user here needs to make a decision. What is the decision? They either need to log in or they need to sign up, okay? Now, we have multiple flows, and this is in the world of product design. What we're doing right now is tracking out or diagramming out something we call a red route, or the main route that the user is going to take. There's lots of other little goat paths and routes they might take. They might get here and say, I need to read the terms and conditions or terms of service before I do any of this. That's a separate route, right? They're going to open up a modal or do something. We could talk about that later. But let's flesh out the main route or the red route, okay, that the user might take. And here's one of the main decisions in that route. If they want to sign up, they're going to be led to a sign up page. If they want to log in, they're going to be led to a login page. Now you might say, this doesn't make sense. I think they need to be led to instead the login page. And if they don't have an account, then they decide they want to sign up. Okay, fine. You do it that way. That's how you want to diagram it, as long as it makes sense to you and your team. Now, here's what's interesting. Once they sign up, what happens? Now they have an account. They'll be led to the login page, okay? Let's keep diagramming. We want to get them to where we want them to be, okay? So yes, they're at the login page. This is where we want them to be. And after they have correctly logged in, we'll log them into a dashboard of some kind. But what if they didn't log in correctly? They need maybe to be led to a forgotten password page. See how now we're laying out a diagram that we can start to understand the user's needs. You have probably seen this login or sign up flow a million times. If you've downloaded an app, started an account, have you ever thought through the process that somebody had to go through to make this as seamless and easy as possible? Well, now we're talking about the wireframe version here. And then later on, we could talk about the UI design version. Now, this is a real low key, low fidelity UI design, right? We've taken our wireframe, which is really like less color, more just about like putting the text on the page, and these screens represent our flows. See how we're building a process here. This is the product design process. So we've built our wireframes to match our flow. We've built our UI design off of our wireframes, and we've started to implement some of that basic UI design, like basic visual design, things you'll learn about in the course or things you could learn about anywhere else through a book or online if you'd like instead. And then we'll start doing some more high fidelity stuff. And then we might even start creating miniature design systems. And these are things you'll learn in the course, right? It's like once you are designing, and you say, hey, I want to create a design. This design is going to start scaling now. What do I do once I create a button? I don't want to create that button a million times. So I'm going to use Figma to create components and variants and design systems so that we can start like really designing at scale and rapidly later on down the line. From here, we're going to want to prototype our designs. We're going to want to share our designs, document our designs. Of course, inspect inside of Figma makes that really easy because our developers can come in here and see measurements and they can see all the properties and everything. But sometimes they need a little bit more. Sometimes just the Figma inspect is great, or handing them a red line is great, but how do we put together documentation that kind of brings all this stuff in together? That's also really important. Again, not to punch it too hard, but you're going to learn all of this stuff inside of the 12-week product design course. And now here's the hard part, folks, is the product design course was announced a while ago, and you don't have much time left. It's actually the next course is starting March 7th. It is a cohort course right now. I think right now there's somewhere around 200 people that are signed up. And so if you don't grab this round by March 7th, you're gonna have to wait 12 weeks for the new one to open up. And so sign up. Let me know if you're interested, because it'd be a lot of fun to have you along for the ride, okay? It's gonna be really, really cool. All right, now with that said, I think we've talked about what you need to do in 2022 to become a product designer, right? You need to kind of focus on some of these core skills. What were those again? Here they are: research and empathy, product, process and leadership, visual design, user patterns, rapid prototype and testing, team skills, documentation, wireframing, simplification, problem solving, design thinking, and passion and creativity. You're gonna need to focus on all of those, but also focus on subscribing to this channel and getting notified when we talk about more valuable stuff, right? So this channel is always free. It's free for you to subscribe to. The course, the Dribbble course, is not free. You do have to enroll. It does cost a little bit, but I think it's well worth it. All right, so let's talk next about some portfolio, a little bit of portfolio reviews. And so if you signed up for our Hey Creative Discord server, all you have to do is go over here in the Hey Creative Discord server to portfolio reviews, submit your work, and that's where I've pulled some of these. So to end our stream today, I'm gonna be just reviewing a couple of portfolios. Let's just chat a little bit about product design and chat about visual design, and I'll give my feedback. I'm not the end all be all. I'm not the fount of all knowledge, but I'm just the fount of a little teeny tiny bit, and I want to share it with you today. So let me take a sip of this legend. We'll get back on track. Okay. 3D Rocket and UI by Ali Nojumi. I probably messed up that name. I apologize. And this is just a little bit of 3D work. All right, that's pretty cool. And I like you did the 3D work and you kind of implemented it into a design. Let's talk a little bit about the design, because the 3D work is dope. It's super fun. I'd be interested to know what program you're using. Are you using something like Spline? Are you using, Adobe Dimension? There's lots of 3D tools out there right now that you could be using. I like a lot of them. One thing that we probably do need to talk about is the layout itself. It's problematic to me, and this does have a little bit of a product design process that we can say, hey, what's wrong with this design that we're looking at here? Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that's wrong with this design, or the ways that this design could be improved, is there's no real hard call to action, right? The thing that jumps out at me is actually the word usability and then the rocket illustration. But am I supposed to sign up? Am I supposed to start? Am I supposed to create an account? Am I supposed to see something? Well, my buttons, usually what we call CTAs or call to actions, are not really defining that for me. They're kind of falling into the background. And a lot of other things like the logo or the home navigation item, those things are kind of come to the forefront for me, really. And so it's about, where do we want to direct the user's attention, right? And a great book, if you want to read about usability patterns, is Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. It's a classic when it comes to usability. He talks about reading patterns, which most people still read in a Z-like reading pattern. Starting from top left, the users confirm that they've landed by brand where they wanted to be. They scan right to see their options. They shoot down this way. And this is where our call to actions a lot of times need to be. That's why a lot of our Web 2.0, people talk crap about it all the time, is like this lockup over on the left-hand side with like some sort of call to action. Let's flip it around. Let's do it the other way. You could put the image over here and the stuff over here, but people are still kind of Z reading. Okay, so that's interesting. And, I think the 3D is really nice. This one's even nicer because it's a little bit more monochromatic. Really sick. Really like that. But some of the problems we're having with layout are proximity issues. Like, is this text associated with this headline? Because it doesn't feel like it right now. We need to connect things a little bit more, bring them together. Our call to actions need to bump up a little bit. And also, I just feel like we're not really using the space wisely, but I do appreciate it a whole lot. So I'm going to give you a little appreciation there. Thanks for sharing that beautiful piece of work there. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, this one is by Lang. This is a Travel City Tour Quest app design #1. Got a little dribble shot here. Let's see if we can blow this thing up and kind of focus a little bit. Okay, I like it. I like the colors, super fun. It's got a very specific, a stylized kind of style here on the dashboard. I said stylized style. Never say that again. That's a bad It's a bad vibe. Side note, can you tell how cold it is in my office? I'm freezing. I have a beanie on, a sweater. It's really, really cold. Sorry. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Are you cold right now? Is it warm where you're at, or is it cold where you're at? Because if it's warm, I'm a little bit jealous. Tell me where you're coming from. And if it's warm, tell me. I'd love to know so I can live vicariously through your warmth. All right. So I do like the stylized kind of cards here. Super fun and interesting. And I think you do a really good job here, like spacing and spacing, like typography, like vertical rhythm here is real clean. That's an important thing when we get here. The one thing I'm not vibing with is I know you have borders around, I can barely see them, the bottoms of these cards, but this kind of super neutral border kind of falls off into the ether. So I think you need to make a design decision on which colors you use where. Will A says, it's Brazil. It is hot AF. Hey, I'm jealous. Be stoked about it being hot because it is cold here. It's like 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Also, I love seeing a dribble shot, and I think a lot of times people can miss out on their dribble shot by just putting one piece of the UI, but seeing some sort of connection is always great. So for instance, here, clicking on the Forgotten Heritages will lead me to this Saigon Forgotten Heritage. So seeing the interaction from one screen to another, even if you also did like a video, like an animated GIF, and you just showed like a simple push interaction, that would be super nice because I want to feel not just the visual design, but I want to feel the prototype as well. I think it's good. Yeah, so that's awesome. Somebody asked in the chat, how much does a UX and UI designer earn? That's a great question. Here's a little answer for you over on the landing page. How about a digital product designer? The average salary in the United States for a digital product designer is $115K. Okay, and 70% of hiring managers increase their design team's headcount in the past year. So that means the majority of companies are hiring, looking to pay people around this much, dependent on location, experience, all that stuff, of course. But that's an average kind of salary, $115K for a full-blown product designer. Somebody, maybe, who has been certified through a 12-week course, has some case studies, has some, capstone projects under their belt, knows the process, and is ready to join a team as a team member. Okay, so super great stuff. Here we go. But I like, actually one of my favorite parts of this is this section here. See what we're talking about? Call to action. It's a little busy. It's a little colorful. What I'd like to see maybe is neutralizing these icons so that the let's go, the call to action pops. But maybe you have a larger plan, a bigger scale for this design where you use color in different ways, okay? Wolfram, you're asking about the legend drink. Wolfram was one of our winners for our legend drink competition challenge, and you didn't get your legend yet. Okay, I have to triple check on that now because I have checked. I will look for another update. Man, I'm so sorry about that. Hey, side note, we do competitions, and hopefully when you win, which Wolfram did, you get stuff. And I'm sorry because sometimes it's not on me. So I will try again though. And I do appreciate you bringing that back up. Hey, let's look at Sanjay Roy's car repair landing page. Let's look at that real quick. I like the colors. I like the layers. Here's a good, still in the web, quote unquote 2.0 of creating, look at our Z landing page or Z reading style here. Interesting, right? This one pops a little bit more versus our 3D rocket UI issue. See the difference here between this fella, okay, and then this fella right here, okay? The get a free quote, the free checkup, the color, we're using color as a primary kind of like call to action. We're using size, we're using consistency. The proximity is better here on the like the typography. Branding is really, really nice. I like that a lot, but also I love this layered dimensionality. We're getting a lot more out of this graphic, I think. We're getting the smiling face, obviously, which is always helpful for marketing, like landing page reasons, but you're also getting a little bit of social proof, right? Some rating stuff. Social proof is important. And if you didn't think that was enough social proof, we're getting a little bit more. I think that these icons might be a little bit big. I think people are really excited about using that primary color, but you might want to do a little bit more of that 60-30-10 style. 60% of your design should probably be neutral. 30% should probably be some sort of secondary color, and only 10% should be your accent or your primary call to action color. Okay, so what we're talking about is if our call to action color is our blue, look how beautiful this looks. Here, let's just zoom in. Look how beautiful. It makes sense, right? Oh, blue is where I click. Oh, blue is like what I should be looking out for. Oh, okay, well, he's kind of wearing blue, but it's on brand. It makes sense. And then we start going down. We go, do I click on these? Oh, no, I don't click on these. Do I click on all this down here? Oh, no, I don't click on all that down. Do I click on these cards? No, I don't click on those either. So maybe we're kind of abusing our primary call to action color. Maybe we need to rework our palette, reintroduce the neutral, and find a secondary color because you're kind of on the cool side. I tell you, like an orange, right? A yellow would pop off this blue real fast and be like, that's where I stink and click. That's what's up, okay? So just a thought, and this is how we use design creatively to solve the needs of the user. A basic need of the user is to find where the heck they're supposed to click. But I do like it. I love it. How can I give this one a little bit love? Let's back out. Let's like it, right? I love it. Thank you. All right, so much. Let's do another one. This is the Halloween app concept. I think this was one of my Adobe creative, like daily creative design deals that I did one time. And this is from Mohammed Artarwala. And this is like a concept app so that kids could find like the houses in their neighborhood where they could find like candy on Halloween. I like it. Using a little bit of the Adobe XD 3D Transform, presenting really well. Can we talk about presentation real quick? Can we just talk about this? Because we talk about this in the course, but I talk about it on my channel all the time. When you do the work and the work is good, awesome, good for you. Always much needed to do good work. But something a lot of designers miss out on is the presenting of the work. I have actually a free PDF somewhere. You could probably find it. Oh, I know where you can go. You can go over here to learn.jesseshowalter.com and you can go to products. And somewhere in here, I got things you could download like client surveys and all sorts of stuff. There's free hourly agreements, but here's a free PDF called Make Your Portfolio Count, okay? And it has a lot of tips inside of it about how you present your work and how you present yourself and how you talk about your work and, how many projects and stuff like that. So it's free. You have it. Just sign up, grab it, put your email in, you get it for free. So, but this is beautiful. I like the presentation quite a bit. I think I think the app is cute. It's super fun. I'm not saying that because I'm like being boastful because it was my concept or idea. I just think he did a good job. The maps are super fun. There's probably a little bit of work you could do streamlining it, possibly, but for the most part, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I think it's pretty nice. It's just pretty clean. I like this as an interesting, like onboarding screen, right? Where we bottom right, the next button or the proceed button, instead of being like center or swiping, we're kind of like encouraging them here. It's kind of like the rule of like thumbs, which is pretty cool. Basic UI design concept. Maybe it's being applied there well, maybe it's not. Always just design wise, watch out for widows and orphans. I forget which one this is. It's either a widow or an orphan. It's a word that's left on a line all by itself. Those are never ever good. If you can avoid it, avoid it. It's a basic thing. Here we go. Last one for the day, and then we're done with our stream. And then maybe we'll answer a couple. Let's answer a couple more questions right now. All right. Answer a few more questions before we do this last design portfolio review. And then and then we will be ending for the day. All right, but a few more questions. Maxwell says, do you get to take the course at your own pace? To a certain extent, but the course is a 12-week paced cohort kind of course where you do need to stay on pace. Now, I believe if you work a 9-to-5 job, maybe even if you have kids, work a 9-to-5 job and they're doing something else, as long as you can put in an hour a day, you can accomplish this course, because at least 5 hours a week, if you could put in 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, you'd be fine. If you could put 30 minutes of your lunch per day, okay, and then maybe 30 minutes a night, you could accomplish it, no problem, right? But the more you put in, the more you're going to get out, but it is paced, so you'll have to stay on pace, which I actually prefer. In this world of courses where everything's like self-paced, go at your own pace, cheapest course ever, right? I actually think that's a bad thing, because sometimes when I'm self-paced, I don't have the accountability and I won't show up and do it. I won't finish that course. And so I like the paced model. I like the cohort model because I think it makes you accountable, right? And I've heard some people say like, that's kind of expensive for a course, but it is a 12-week certified course. And at the end, you'll get a certification from Dribbble, and they will plug you into a network of hiring managers and possibly get you hired. Who else can do that? Probably the biggest design community in the world called Dribbble. So pretty cool. The link, Zohar, to my course is in the description, and it's pinned in the chat. It's not pinned in the chat, but it's in the description. Look in the description on YouTube. You'll find it, okay? Let's see. We are looking for questions. Alazar says, does a person from Africa make good money as a freelancer UX UI designer? That's a great question. That question, let's answer the larger question. Can you make a living doing UI UX design as a freelancer if you are in other countries, not the United States? If you're in Africa, maybe you're in India, I think you absolutely can. I think the process is very similar. You might have your own challenges that you might have to overcome. Maybe those are communication like challenges. Maybe you want to work with American clients, whatever it is. Like everyone will have their own challenges, right? Based off of their own circumstances. But I think in this day and age, with remote work and Zoom calls and online work, I think you're very, very capable. And I think you need to start whatever way makes most sense to you. Maybe you need to start the Fiverr route. You need to get some stuff, projects under your belt, do some free work. I've talked about this all the time, like freelance stuff. Like maybe you do some free work for friends and family, do some super cheap work, but then move on and start getting some paying clients. You absolutely can. I just think that there will be specific challenges to your circumstances, but I totally think you can. I don't see any reason, but maybe I'm wrong. Right? But I don't think there's any reason to not grind as a side hustle and figure out and see if you can. So you can always test the waters and dip your toe in before you jump in full-fledged and quit your job. You should always be moonlighting and figuring out on the side if it's something you want to do or can do. So definitely, okay? Edward says, it is freaking hot, Jesse, down here in Ghana. Well, depending I get it. Sometimes when it's too hot, it's really bad. I understand. It's a little bit chilly here, though. That's all. Is there a place for a coder here? Daily Meow says, I see you guys are all designers. I like your designs. Guess what? I also do front-end development, Daily Meow. So I love code as well. I don't code as much anymore because I'm getting pretty hip to the no-code tools, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on no-code tools mixed with pro-code tools, mixed with code in general. I love working with engineering teams, and I love code. I think code makes the internet go round. So there's definitely a place for you here because this is a place where we want to talk about design and life and code and freelancing and business and all sorts of things. So please join us on these streams and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I got a lot of stuff we talk about. We talk about all sorts of things here on this channel. These are great questions. I love all of these questions. I might have time for one more. I don't. Let's do this final review and then we are out of here for the day, y'all. This is a mobile first XD creative challenge. Go mobile first. Okay, got it. Use responsive resize with stacks. These are features inside of Adobe XD to go from mobile to desktop for an e-cut. This is a fun challenge, right? So design it in mobile, use all the responsive features, and then just stretch it out and see if it works. Ooh, with like maybe some slight kind of like tweaks. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. Ooh, and so I'm wondering how strict you were to this. Let's look. We got a little video we get to play. All right, get a little mobile action there. Yeah, and then, oh, what are we doing? And then I see. Okay, it's really about organizing content into grids and using, although I don't think, there's a couple of plugins. I like this. I'll give you some appreciation there from Abernail. Abernail, I believe, is part of the Hey Creative Discord server. He's our like 11 or 12-year-old designer. It's part of our community. Join us. Be like Abernail. He's my hero. Okay. This is what's interesting about this is design tools in general are getting better at offering some tools for responsive nature. I think, in my opinion, Figma's doing the best at it. Adobe XD is right there. But being able to do responsive work inside of your design tool and just watch how things kind of flex and ebb and flow is very, very important. There's a couple of plugins that allow you to create breakpoints. I believe the Figma plugin is called breakpoints that allows you to create new artboards. So as you're prototyping things out, boom, it'll snap to the new artboard and you can play in that space now, just like you would if you put in like a breakpoint inside of like your CSS as you're doing front-end dev. It'll see things kind of like change or flip over. It's interesting, but we're not quite there yet fully to the responsive nature that I could probably slam out if I just started creating some CSS inside of a code pen or something like that. So we're not quite there. We're going to get there though, because as the web has progressed and we're now moving on to AR, VR, like responsive stuff is just a must. Whereas like 10 or 15 years ago, people were like, do our websites have to be responsive? And now it's like, if your website's not responsive, what stone age are you living in, right? Like if I ever visit a website, okay, on my device and I have to do the old pinch and zoom, I'm like, you lost a customer. I'm done. You're a dinosaur. So we're past that point now. And when we pass certain points, the gentrification of technology starts to catch up, right? So we start, or like the urban sprawl, excuse me, is a better term. The technological sprawl starts to happen where it's no longer a maybe, it's a must. And then we move past it. It's like, it's just a requirement. The technology starts saying, hey, we'll start building these things into the design tools. It's always going to follow along after. In 10 years, we're going to have AR and VR and lots of things built into our design tools. It's just going to be the way that it has to be. So that's the progression of technology and the progression of the tools for designers to solve those problems of technology. Okay, well, hey, that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining me for the day. Again, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you know when another video like this one comes out. You'll know when I'm streaming. You'll get an email. It's like, Jesse's going live. Join me. Also, again, if you're interested in the course, sign up. Link is down in the description. Dribble's 12-week certified product design course with you-know-who as your main instructor and guests like MDS and Jessica Coe, hiring manager from Google, as well as a lot of other people. Lastly, if you're not already, consider becoming a member. I have a members club. They're called my Design Champs. And if you're a Design Champ, you get special premier access into that Discord for only Design Champs. You get access to all of my design files, everything else, as well as monthly live meetups, which we haven't done for a little bit because 2022 hit me like a storm, but we're jumping back in and the calendar is going to be released soon for all of those things. I'm so thankful that you guys decided to join me on this stream. I'm so thankful that you guys want to solve problems. I'm so thankful just for you being who you are and who God made you to be, a creative thinker, a problem solver, a designer, a coder, a freelancer, whatever it is. Just go out and be confident in your problem solving abilities today, and we will see you in the next stream. Take care.